Hey everybody, welcome. I got a special one for you today. I'm joined by Devon Cloud. He is a PBIA certified instructor. He runs a very interesting Facebook group called Mental Management for Billiards. I've been a member of that group for some time now. Devon and I are getting to know each other a little bit better today. I have him on as a guest commentator for this APA Masters match. I'll turn it over to him so that he can introduce himself a little bit today, and then we're just going to do a deep dive on the mental aspect of this particular match from Masters just a few weeks ago. So, Devon, take it away.
Hey, thanks a lot, Anthony. For those of you that are not familiar with the group he was talking about, I run the Facebook group. It's called Mental Management for Billiards. It's close to 20,000 members strong currently. We dive into the mental portion of the game. If you're into a lot of the pool groups on Facebook, we really specialize on the mental side of things. You can ask Anthony. I'm kind of picky as to what type of material goes on the site.
Very well curated, yeah.
Yeah, I like to keep it very focused on the mental aspect only. So I really don't like to have a whole lot of information on there in terms of tournaments or things of that nature. So it's pretty cool that way because it's not what everyone is doing at all. So you're not seeing a bunch of pictures of people with the money they won at a tournament or anything like that. It's just strictly about learning the mental side of this game. We'll dive in some fundamentals too, but mainly just about the mental side. I'm a certified PBIA instructor. I studied under Randy Gottlicher's a master instructor, Hall of Famer. I'm very, very lucky in terms of being able to have training from some of the best master instructors, such as the late Scott Lee, Randy, Greg Hogg, Steve Jennings. There's a lot of people within the PBIA master instructors that I've been blessed to be able to learn from, and it's been a very interesting journey. And then I also decided to specialize in mental management. I've studied mental management and mindfulness techniques and things like of that nature, and applied it to my teachings. So I do all of the PBIA instruction in terms of fundamentals, mechanics, and then I've added on top of that the mental aspect of the game so that my students have a very good understanding of what they need to do when their mind plays tricks on them and gets them to do things against what their pre-shot routines have shown them to do, which happens a lot, especially under stress and under pressure. So that's my background. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but
No, that's great.
If you guys have not joined the group, Mental Management for Billiards is a great group. Give it a shot.
I will put the link down in the comments if you guys want to check that out. And then, yeah, just pending approval, you can jump in there. But thanks again so much, Devon, for joining me here today. And everybody, if you are new to the channel, make sure to stick around. This is going to be a really good match. We're just breaking down the mental aspect of the game, strategies, and everything that goes with it. So we're going to get the actual gameplay started here. And as always, we're opening up with a lag. So the closest person to that rightmost short rail will decide whether they want to choose the format between 8-ball and 9-ball, or if they want to have the break. So in this case, since I won the lag, I chose the break. The reason that I choose that most times is I just would like to be in control of the table. I'm going to be really comfortable with 8-ball or 9-ball. Some players, a lot of players, I'll say, at least in my region, will choose 8-ball. I'm not sure what you tend to see, Devon, but they choose 8-ball just, I think, because there tend to be more innings. You're usually going to get more looks at the table. It gives you a better sense of where your opponent's at on that particular day. Maybe the pace is going to be a little bit slower. Whereas in a winner breaks format, if you run into somebody who's feeling really good that day or tends to play really strong in general, you might not see a lot of the table if you start off with 9-ball.
Yeah, no, I kind of like the like the choice. I usually choose 8-ball in the Masters APA format too. Just
Yeah.
there's less games too, so it kind of gives you uh, a little bit more opportunity to really pick your opponent's brain to see
Definitely.
see what they're better at.
Right.
So,
And the other thing
and
about
honestly,
APA format, you know, it's take what you make. And so I did make a solid. I had to accept a pretty steep cut on this 6-ball to open things up. But once we get away from this 3-ball here, we'll get closer to the center of the table. We'll have a couple more options. Things are reasonably open. I think probably the toughest shape here is going to be to get in a good spot for the 5. What I'm lining up here is to get out behind this 4-ball, so along that long rail here on the bottom of the screen. And if we get somewhat straight on the 4, then we should have a good line on the 1 that leads towards the 5. I think we're probably on the wrong side of this 4-ball, though. Wanted to pinch back up just a bit more, but it's still workable. I'm coming over to look at the 1. Just in terms of my mental state coming into this match, I had just won a match and lost a match the same day. This was the last one of the day. So energy levels waning a little bit just from having played a few already, but confidence was high. And so I think what we'll see in this match, you know, it's been a few weeks here, so I don't remember every detail necessarily, but I was going for runouts when they presented themselves. But for, you know, that's a confident stroke, right? Wanted to make sure that I get away from the 8-ball. And again, we're on the wrong side of the 1, but I think the play will be, let me get my lines going. I think the play will be to come out and back to end up in this area for shape on the 5. So stay kind of low and smooth on this. And you don't need a ton of draw. I think it was just enough to kind of counteract the that natural path the cue ball would want to take off the 1-ball.
that was a very good shot.
Thank you. We're always gonna run into this 13 here, so I think you just account for that and make sure you get back enough to give yourself a good line. I'm not sure that I always thought the 5 was gonna be the key ball in this rack, but certainly getting through that one nice and smooth. So it's a good way to settle in, Devon. I mean, a little break and run just to start the match and maybe put your opponent on their heels a little bit.
So let me ask you this:
Yeah.
in terms of your skill level as compared to your opponent, what would you say? Were you a more skilled player than your opponent here?
I would say
Or
so, yeah. The APA skill levels can be a little finicky, as I'm sure you know. And I don't always look up Fargo rates, certainly not before I play someone. I'd rather just come in and play my best game, and then if I'm curious after the fact, I'll look up Fargos. My Fargo rate is not established yet. I've got, you know, 20 matches or 20 games or something to my name, so it's very changeable at this point. My opponent is in a similar camp based on what I looked at. He's like a 520 Fargo, somewhere in there, and just over 100 games, so fairly established. But I would say generally, like, yeah, broadly speaking, that I would consider myself a higher skill level than my opponent.
okay,
Yeah.
just kind of get an idea of your confidence levels, because that was not a very easy run.
Right. Right.
So and you performed it very confidently. So
Definitely.
I was thinking that was going to be the case, but just
Right.
wanted to ask.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah. I think again, it does help me settle in. I'm breaking and I've got to take the stripes here again. Take what you make. It's not my favorite rule. I do like the BCA where you've got the choice. And maybe, you know, they just kind of balance that out with an alternate break or what have you. But in this rack, we might be looking at a long shot on the 13 if I'm trying to get out. The 10 ball does go. I remember that aspect of this, that the 10 was thin, but it does go. But it's a very tidy window over here, and the 1 takes away a fair bit of that. So I wonder if we just attack this 13 and then try to, we know we'll end up in the center of the table for the 9 ball.
Hey, Anthony, one question I did not ask
Sure.
in the beginning. What size table are we playing on?
These are 7-foot diamond tables.
7 foots.
Yeah, APA Masters, at least in my area, is all played on 7-footers. A lot of the tables around here are valley tables, and I did just recently change over to a different division where they play on diamonds. I love playing on the diamond tables. Got a bit of a nostalgia for the valley tables, but I'd prefer to be on the diamonds because that's what we're going to be using in Vegas if we're able to make it out there this season. So,
I mean, can't go wrong with the diamond. Can't go wrong with the gold crown too.
right,
Those are the two best tables there are, as far as I'm concerned.
I'd agree with you. Yeah.
So yeah, I love diamonds. So
Yeah, no, I love playing on these, and changing up the divisions was for a lot of reasons. I think the competition in this division's a little steeper, and the equipment's better. I really like playing out of this particular pool hall. I go here for Saturday night tournaments as well as the Masters. I think here we don't have to do too much off the 9-ball. We're going to either shape the 15 or the 14 in the bottom side. I might give it just a touch of check side, a little bit of inside here.
definitely did.
Yeah. So we're going to get tidy on the 15. And again, the 10 ball is the key shot. This is what I'm looking at right away is where's my line to get on this 10 ball. It does go. And luckily the 14, if we go 15, 14, the 14 could kind of put us there. Looking at my line on the 15 again. That's something that I've changed up a lot is, I'll be looking at position windows or something for a later shot, but then I always try to zero in on the current shot. Okay, so I wasn't able to get the 14 in the side or didn't want to. I think just playing a little bit of a stun off the 14 puts me comfortably on the 10. I didn't have to do too much with the cue ball there. It does go from here, but I remember, I'm going to pause just briefly. I remember feeling really intimidated by this shot because now I had the first rack was an opening with a break and run. I'm jockeying for position to do it again, and a little 2-pack is super exciting to me. So I was getting in my head, the pressure was building. I'm doing it to myself, right? Like, on any given day, this 10 ball is super makeable, even with a ball intervening like the 8 ball is.
Well, what were you thinking here about it as far as your
Yeah.
harder shot, 10 ball makeable, but
Right.
what were you thinking in terms of leave on your 8?
That's the tricky part. Not only do I have to make the 10, which felt a little intimidating, but getting shape on the 8, you're always going to run into it. I don't want to have to really mess with the low outside, low left here to try to spin out and away from the 8 ball. But I think that's what I end up going with, was to try to spin away from the 8 so that when we make the 10, maybe the cue ball drifts up. You're going to nudge the 8 ball out a little bit, but the cue ball, if it's got more momentum, is going to come above the 8. So maybe the 8 ends up here and the cue ball ends up out here. I just didn't really see too much else. Maybe running through it with high inside to get the cue ball to come back around. But I feel like you're just going to end up pushing the 8 towards the 7. What are you seeing here?
Kind of hard to tell on the angle here, but
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
camera,
I was my original thought here was just left side spin to just kind of come directly off the rail and nudge the 8 more into the middle of the table to give myself an option of the side pocket or the bank.
Right.
I wasn't sure if the 3 ball was in the way of the corner pocket, and I guess we wouldn't know that until we figure out exactly where the 8 ball lands.
Right.
That was a third possibility. But,
Yeah.
I was thinking more just of a natural nudge on the 8 more than trying to force the cue ball somewhere.
I do like to play it that way when I can, not try to get too much out of it. So yeah, I hadn't thought about just kind of play for the bottom left corner depending on where the 8 ball ends up, but
well, that 3 ball's in a bad spot, so I wouldn't
is.
be planning for that specifically. Yeah.
And my opponent James came over to look at it because the camera kind of tricks you, and he was sitting on this side of the table. It does look a lot thinner than it actually was. So I'm going low outside. Yeah.
Yeah, see, and I didn't even think that was really a possibility on that shot so much.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been. This was purely mental, right? I think, I always compensate for the sort of deflection of that low left strike. I had comfortable cueing. I think it was just a case of not trying to get too cued on the 8 make sure you make the 10 ball and then take what you get from there. But this is tough. I mean, I'm giving up ball in hand with a very open table. Really, the 4 and the 6 are
So
his.
what happened there? I didn't see what caused the ball in hand.
So I grazed the 8 on the way down.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, and
Gotcha.
that was just purely like tricking myself, trying to get too much out of it, or maybe not fully compensating for the amount of deflection. But
Okay, so let me ask you this. So did
yeah,
you put a lot more speed on that ball than you wanted to?
it might have
Or
been just, yeah, kind of striking down low left, and it was a bit too much speed, which maybe caused sort of an unintentional masse.
let me ask you this, Anthony. Have
Yeah,
you taken instructions from an instructor before?
not from a certified instructor. When I was first learning the game, uh, 15 years ago or so, I had a local road player who would come to the house and give us lessons, very sort of unstructured. But a lot of
Yeah.
good skills and perspectives came out of that. And then since then, it's been competitive play, tournament play. I've taken lessons from higher level players here and there, but never had the opportunity or the privilege, I should say, to work with a true certified professional.
Yeah. So there's just a couple of things, which is in terms of that angle and where your ball was directly behind that 8, how
Yeah.
close it was to the rail. There's not a whole lot you can do with speed on that shot.
Mm,
Uh, and the reason why I say that is because as soon as you hit that rail, it's all about your spin, not your draw. So at that point, as soon as you hit that rail, it's about what kind of spin you put on the ball. And a lot of people make the mistake, okay, I got to put a lot of bottom on that ball and try to pull it out,
mm,
and then they want to hit that faster. So we'll put a lot more speed on it.
sure.
The problem with that is your tangent line. So your tangent line, every time you hit a ball at an angle, your ball is going to travel down that tangent line. I don't care what you do to your cue ball for a little bit of time, amount of time.
Sure.
How much speed you put on that ball on your cue ball will depend on how fast or how long it goes down that tangent line before your spin, your top spin or your bottom spin, makes it veer off that line in one direction or another.
Hmm.
Well, in the case of being that close to the rail, it doesn't have time to
Doesn't have a
react either
chance.
way.
Right.
So your top and your bottom makes no difference whatsoever.
Mm.
It's just about your side spin. So on that case, you're going to come off and in other words, all you would have had to have done is say, okay, this is the tangent line. That's where it's going to hit the rail, that exact spot. What do I want it to do afterwards? And then decide how much of your side spin you want in order to get the ball to work. So actually hitting it slower provides you more opportunity to move that cue ball where you want it than the speed does.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
So that is what I saw on that shot in terms of like a mental. I don't want to say mental breakdown. If no one's ever really explained that to you before, you might not even have recognized that that's what you did. But it's on especially on balls that are that close to that rail. It's all about your spin and not about your forward rotation or back rotation. You know, think of it this way: forward rotation and back rotation matters off of your object ball. Side spin is what really matters after you touch a rail.
The rails. Right. Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's a
So
great way to think about it. I like that a lot. Just kind of simplifies things so that you know what to expect. You kind of, sight in that natural tangent line like you were talking about, and then know that whether it's the object ball or the rail, what can I expect based on the type of spin or whatever's happening with the cue ball at that point.
right.
Yeah, thanks for that.
So here we're seeing your opponent for the first time.
We're getting to look at James, and yeah, I like what he does here because he gets the 6 ball out of the way early, so it clears up the pocket for the 4.
Okay. So no pre-shot routine.
Not as of yet. I do wonder, how much an intimidation factor might have come into play. But I
Well,
don't.
yeah, you just almost ran 2 racks. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's plenty of that.
Maybe kind of just punch out off this 5, kind of power up a little bit. Yeah. I don't know if we wanted to run into the 4 necessarily, but now he's going to have to take a tough cut on the 3. Out and back for the 7. I mean, the 7's easy to get on, as long as you don't end up behind the 4 somehow. Came down below the 4, but this will cooperate for him. He can kind of just come back out for the 4. I think you just have to choose a good window for the 4 that leads you to the 2.
Yeah, he needed to try to get to that 2 earlier, though.
Yeah, it's a tough ball to save till last. He's going high left, it looks like. Not sure you need to do that. Overcut. And a scratch.
Yeah.
So he'll.
I mean, I think he recognized that. If you ask me, in terms of his mental state on that, he knew he had to. He wanted to get to that 2 first before he got to his 4, because the 4 was the correct out ball.
Probably what it was. The shape coming across for the 4 is
Yeah.
easier, but he was trying to spin down for the 2.
Right, and his window for the 2 was just not right.
Yeah.
Half of his window was gone because of that corner pocket.
Yeah.
So.
It makes the shot a lot harder, and the speed control had to be really perfect, whereas on the 4 it really didn't. Yeah, it was tough. He kind of shot himself into a corner there. But
yeah, in that case, he should have played the 4 first, just given the layout of the last 2 balls.
Yeah.
Even though that made his 8 ball a lot tougher.
Right.
It was definitely the safest option. So. But then again, he's thinking about trying to get out. He was a game behind, and
yeah,
understandable. So
tricky layout here, a couple clusters to deal with, and the fact that we have to go with the solids. I'm just cutting this 1 ball. Yeah, a little too thick on that.
And you broke out a trouble ball for him.
I did. Yeah. This the cluster on the right is still troublesome, but I did clear up this situation a little bit. So with him playing the stripes, this 13 is really locked up. The 11's not in a great spot, but luckily, I mean, I think his 9 ball could be really effectively used as a breakout ball if you get on it early.
Absolutely.
Which he could, right? You just sort of follow through this 14, and you'd be in prime position from anywhere in here to go into the 9 and break those out with a 15 as a bailout.
That's what I would do. I would do it early.
Yeah.
Give myself as many opportunities as possible. I would do it right here.
Depending on how you're feeling, I mean, the 15 could be used right now, right? I mean, you could go into him off the 15, shape the 14 in the side if you don't end up with a 13. Either way, if he's trying to get out, if he wants to break those up to try to get out here. So he's shaping the 15. I can't imagine he wanted to be there on the 9.
I can't imagine he wanted to be on the 15 either.
Right. Pretty straight on it, unless you slow roll this and try to hold it for that shot on the 9.
Leaving yourself on the rail is never a good option.
Yeah, just mechanically things. Yeah.
Right, exactly because of that. So that's one of the things that I've that a lot of the amateurs in the sport just don't quite understand just how troublesome being on the rail,
right,
or having to jack up over a ball is in terms of your shot ability.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to talk to a pro about these things, those things are avoided more than bank shots or kick shots.
Right.
It's just that's just something you do not want to do. It hampers your ability to be accurate more than anyone can comprehend. It's for about every 5 degree of angle you go up on a ball, you're, especially on long shots, it just makes them twice as hard.
So I was going to try to come into those, but didn't cut the 2 ball the way that I needed to, and or misjudged the tangent line there.
Yeah, no, it was a good shot. It was a good try. Unfortunately, it just seemed like it helped your opponent more than it helped you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
his
mean,
13's
you
still
you
locked
do.
up. 11's not in a great
Yep.
spot. Um, I've got to look at this 3. I don't know if maybe we just go safe after that. I'm not sure we really want to try to get out from here. We might just sort of nudge the 4 ball towards the side or on top of the 15. Or just, yeah, put it in the cluster. Let's make it worse.
Yeah. Okay, if I had to guess, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong here,
Yeah, please.
but now that I'm sure you remember this shot a little bit more than before after you just saw yourself do that. But I would have to say that the shot you just took was more based on what you know about your opponent more than it was about your skill set. In other words, what you were trying to do is, I want to be able to run out next shot, and I don't think he's going to run out type of mentality.
I would agree with that. I think at this
Yeah.
point, with once I get a sense of a player with a lot of players, if I know they might try to get out, but they're not likely to get out, they're basically just
Mm-hmm.
going to be moving things out of the way.
Yeah.
So that'll lead me to
Right.
cluster things up and create complications for them, or play a safety that gives me the best chance of getting ball in hand. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
playing to percentages at that point. I do make that
Yeah.
adjustment if I know I'm playing against a much higher skill level player where I just try to turn over as little as possible, or that my safeties are really locked up. I don't go for clusters as much because once you get into higher skill levels, they're going to be able to negotiate those or play safes back at me to keep control.
Right. And for all of y'all listening out here, uh, that is not the wrong mentality to take, as long as you are not underestimating your opponent. Um, and so just talk about that for just a split second.
Yeah.
A lot of people seem to think you don't play your opponent, you play the table. And that's just simply not correct.
Yeah.
Um, you are playing both. There are times when certainly the shot you take, and I'm not saying that was the correct shot to take that you just took. I would not have taken the shot like you just did. But I am saying that the idea of breaking your balls out a little bit better to have a little bit better chance of running out, and or just realizing, well, I'm going to leave my opponent a couple of balls here and there so that they go ahead and break these balls out for me because I know he's not going to run out, isn't necessarily something you should not be thinking about. As a matter of fact, you should be thinking about it. If you're not thinking about these types of things that your opponent will or will not do, you're leaving a piece of the puzzle out of your wheelhouse. So, yes, you play the table, but yes, you also play your opponent. And it wouldn't be a competition if you didn't.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
great thought. Something I might add to that is the idea that strategically, whether it's how you line up particular safeties or not the patterns that you're playing because that's really more about your game, but especially when it comes to the type of safety that you leave. If you know your opponent is particularly proficient at kick shots, or on the other hand, if you know that they physically cannot jump, they don't have a jump cue, they don't know the technique for jumping, as just a particular example that comes up for me all the time. If I know my opponent can't jump, I might maybe push out 9 ball to a jump shot. I might leave them a safe where they're going to be forced to jump, or that it's a very difficult kick. So those are considerations where absolutely you are playing your opponent, but
Mm-hmm.
it's always going to be both. The table's always going to be in play, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I 85% play the table, but if you're not thinking about your opponent and their abilities, you're leaving yourself open for losses.
Right.
A little bit, your better percentage of winning by thinking of both than just one or the other.
Absolutely. So let's see how James navigates this. His 10 ball's still in a good spot for the breakout if he does want to try to open those up. Pinched back a little bit there, which I can't imagine he would have wanted that much draw.
Well, this works too.
I think he's on the wrong side of it though.
Well, I'm just saying in terms of the breakout for
Oh,
using
that
this ball
he
instead of the 10.
right. That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. The 15 takes him in
Yeah.
there. Yeah, he's powering up. He wants to get in there.
Oh,
That's a that's a really unfortunate
just
result.
heartbreaker, heartbreaker.
Come on. Yeah, he hit it pretty good. Maybe underhit it slightly, or just at least he's got to look at something. He didn't get hooked.
That's a problem with that. Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of things right there. I mean, it's hard to figure out where those balls are going to land.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that cluster that's down there on the bottom was just completely, totally against him. You
right.
you have the shot. He has no shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, you know, I mean, you're still pretty tied up with two of your balls there in that one close cluster over there. But
Right.
uh, you know, that's it was just a bad outcome. I think he took the right shot. It
I
was
think
just
so
not the
too.
right outcome.
Yeah, it's and sometimes the layout just seems like it favors one player. Certainly the solids are lying a little bit better right now.
Sometimes those pool gods are against you.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
I know my 4 ball goes from down there. That's what I was lining up when I was getting on that short rail. I can make the 6 from here, but there's not really a positional advantage outside of getting onto the 4. I think the other thing I was considering was if I get on the 4, could that be used as a breakout ball to play into those? I wonder if I just play this combo to push the 7 down. The 6 to the 4 might be a better play, though, if I have the right line to get under the 4.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to try to. These are really tough.
Yeah.
That's so missable. I'm
Oh.
not in love with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering is, I mean, that would work really well if you still had that cluster on the bottom
Yeah.
that he would have to contend with, but
Yeah. But it just
was a
opened
little
everything.
risky given the fact that you just opened up a lot of, and then now that poor ball is a trouble ball for you, where rather than it being something that's makeable. Yeah,
Yeah, because
may have been better just to lay up there, maybe even.
I
You
think
know.
his 13 is makeable. Yeah, it might have been, or even play a safe, just kind of tuck him
Mm,
behind the 1
yeah.
ball.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean by layup.
Oh,
Just go
oh,
ahead and
sure.
play it safe and see where he took it from there.
I see.
Make him earn it.
So he just wants to kind of stay down there for the 11.
Looks like. Oh,
It looked like he was lining up to shape the 11, but he ended up pulling back. He's on the 13 now, which probably goes. The camera angle's a little tricky. It must go if he's lining it up like this.
okay. Now but he has no shot on 11 afterwards. It looks like he's drawing.
Unless he like stuns into the 4. Yeah.
Okay, there.
So he was able to. He had enough off the 13 that the 4 stopped him.
It's just a bit of a strange angle from the camera angle,
Right.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, James has got to make something happen here. So just get. I mean, there's a huge window for this 12. Anywhere up here would be totally fine. It does seem like he's judging while he's down on the shot.
Yeah, yeah. He's.
Oh, he came between the
Let's
6 and the 8.
yeah. Let's pause for a second here.
Oh,
Let's
that's
talk about
yeah.
this.
He had a lot of room, but yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
Devin.
So here's a couple of things. Like, I mean, you were talking about uh, having the upper left corner area be where he should place his cue ball up there, which I guess the bottom left shot to try to come back up in that area.
Yeah.
For me, I like this bottom left corner area better because it was a more of a natural shot. All he had to do was just roll the cue ball, make the ball, and then come up table. Hopefully, hit it, right around the second diamond area and come up there. Seemed like his window of opportunity is a little bit better. Yeah, that his object ball's a little bit closer to the bottom pocket than it is that top pocket. but
Yeah,
it just a lot less cue ball action, especially for a lower level skill level player would be, I think, beneficial.
hmm,
And I mean, it just that was just more of a natural way of doing it. I think would have worked a little better. Um, but the main thing I wanted to talk about here is, yeah, but he's making his decision when he gets down and he looks at the ball. At the ball, he's already stroking.
right.
He's got about his practice strokes are all over the place. He's got 5, 6, 7 different practice strokes before he even makes up his mind on what he's going to
Right.
do with the shot,
Right.
right? So it's like, to me, he needs to spend a little bit of time walking the table and making a plan of action
Commit to
before
the
he
plan
even
before
gets
you get
down,
down. Yep.
right? Because I mean, well, think about alignment on a shot. Okay, your alignment on a shot, if you're going to play bottom left, is going to be slightly different than if you play center ball or and we're not talking about a huge amount of difference. But
Sure.
if you're down on a shot and you're like, okay, no, uh, bottom left is better, and then you go, okay, wait a minute, no, I kind of like middle right a little better, and you just make that adjustment when you're down,
While you're down. Yeah.
you're going to miss a
Yep.
lot of times,
Yep.
unless you're just so close to the pocket it doesn't matter. Um, and it just if you make these decisions while you're standing up and you make a routine that you follow on every single one of these shots, be robotic about it. uh, Even the amount of practice strokes you take, uh, um, everything about your stroke, your fundamentals, all of these things, this is why we train.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a tennis player that doesn't do their backstroke exactly the same way every time?
Right.
Do you see a baseball player who bats differently, or do you see them approaching their pre-shot routine, so to speak, before they swing at a ball to be the same every single time? I mean, down to where they place the front of their foot in order to provide themselves with the most amount of accuracy and speed to their bat. I mean, there in every sport you have pre-shot routine and you have fundamentals, and this sport is absolutely no different whatsoever. And us amateurs seem to think that, well, I'm going to come up with my own unique way of doing things, and that's fine. Or there's uniqueness to even your pro tennis players, pro uh, every sport out there. There's uniqueness in what they do, but there's also fundamental things that you must do. And uh, your opponent here needs to work on that,
Right.
because he doesn't have a lot of routine,
Right.
and routine is absolutely important.
Yeah. Yeah. Great points, Devin. And I think, we really do see it play out in longer races. We see it play out with, higher skill level matches, in, lower level matches where it's, two low level amateurs playing against each other. It may not show as much. But yeah, when you go against the higher skill levels, it's going to show up a lot more.
Well, just think also, just in terms of confidence, if you make all these decisions
Right.
before you get down and start stroking, how much more confident you are that what you're about to do is going to work.
Committed to your plan. Yeah. And
Right.
visualizing success. You and I talked a little bit about before starting the recording today about the visualization process,
Mm-hmm.
which we can get into in more detail here. But yeah, this is really tough because he had two big windows to play into. I think player preference to some point, whether you're going to the top left or the bottom left, but he looks like he's attacking this, whereas maybe it's tough to get safe here, but and this is what you were saying too, Devin, about the having to shoot over a ball, right? The awkward cueing.
Yep.
So I think the intention was, and I've talked about this in a lot of my videos too, but when I think about safeties, I think at lower levels, amateur levels, we're not going to be able to perfectly control for cue ball and object ball placement. So I usually advocate for, hey, pick one. Like if you want to get really tidy with your cue ball and hiding that somewhere, pay attention to that, and try to let go of whatever the object ball is going to do to some extent. Don't try to control for both, because more often than not you end up with neither.
Yeah, I'd have to say that's a good way of thinking about things up until you're close to the 700s in Fargo, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It takes so much skill to be able to control both at the same time.
yeah.
You're talking about years and years and years
Oh yeah.
of practice. Yeah.
So these can be big swings in the match where the opponent gives up a shot. You've got an open layout. Take advantage of that. Really step on that. Make them pay for it. Like it is a competition. But I'm coming in. My attitude right now is just go for it. Probably could have gotten a little neater on this 8 ball, to be honest. But I think at this point, again, I'm not getting so picky about it. I've talked about it in my more recent videos. I'm a
Yeah.
decent shot maker, like I can make this
Yeah.
ball. I just have to trust it and know that, hey, clean, straight delivery, line up properly, and trust your game, and you're gonna put that away.
Yeah, and as you know, from an instructor standpoint, it wasn't your shot or your leave on the 8 ball that was the issue there. It was your leave on the ball that you took in
Right.
order to get on that 4 ball, that last
Exactly.
ball.
Yeah.
That was the problem. You left yourself too straight. Ankles
Right.
are your friend.
Yeah. I had to
People
do
always think you want to leave yourself perfectly straight on balls. That is the last thing you want to do.
Yeah. It's an ironic thing about like amateur level play. Once you really start to pay attention to position play, you think, okay, I'm going to set up to make the next shot easy, and that means perfectly straight in. And then by the time you learn how to do that, you usually figure out that I don't actually want to be straight on the ball, and then you have to sort of adjust your whole game to play for angles instead.
And it's kind of funny how when you go through your pool playing career, how that changes. Before you know much, you leave yourself as straight as you can.
Yeah.
Then you start thinking, okay, I need a little bit of angle. So you start giving and then pretty soon it's like you're leaving yourself 45-degree angle cuts and stuff like that, where it's like it doesn't even bother you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother you because it actually helps you in terms of what you can do with the cue ball.
Got to get comfortable there.
Yeah. And that's another thing I kind of wish a lot of instructors would stop trying to do, which is tell people not to use side spin.
Right.
Side spin is, yes, no doubt about it. It makes making shots, especially longer shots, harder to make. But Demetrius Gelatis put it real well the other day. I saw a video of him and Lil Chris that kind of spelled it out in a really great way, which is, like when you play chess, you say, I only like to use my bishop and my rooks because
right.
The way the knights move is just too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're all tools. They're all tools for different situations. And
right.
This was a tough roll. I played a good shot opening up with a 7, but now I'm forced to have to bank this 6 ball back either clean or into the 1. Oh, I tried to cut it. That's wild. Okay, well, a little bit of backup with the 6 sitting on the 8. Yeah, it was kind of a tough layout. Not sure I felt great about getting out from there. I think I just wanted to make sure that I opened up with the shot on the 7 and see what I got. But 6 was in a bad spot. Natural bank on the 6 was taken away by the 11, I believe. So I would have had to really tighten it up or use that side spin on the bank. So James has got a little bit of work to do here. He's got some good opening shots for options. He's going after the 9. Some draw. I don't believe the 12 goes past the 4 over here on the bottom left. Oh, yep, he immediately went to look at it. Right on cue. Yeah, I can't tell. But no matter which way he goes, he's got to do something about the 8 ball. And again, pressure's on James. I mean, he's got to make something happen, at least in the 8-ball set here.
Absolutely. But at least he was looking at the layout.
Right,
So
right.
good on him.
Yeah, I think we see him settle a little bit in this rack, if I remember correctly.
The name of his team is Super Freaks.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it.
Yep. He goes short side on the 11. I think the idea was to just minimize cue ball travel and maybe he floats up above the 13. Getting from the 13 to the 12 is dicey. I wonder if he would consider playing the 11 off the 8. Right? Because then you could free up the 8.
He could, but he's playing a better player than he is.
He played that at a good speed.
I'm not sure why he would break up your treble ball for you.
Right.
Given the fact that he's playing someone.
Right.
Why he didn't go ahead and take care of sending that cue ball further down table for his other ball there for his 12 there, I don't know.
If it goes, 12, right? I think that's the thing is it's hard to tell. At least I'm having trouble telling if the 12 goes in the bottom left.
But well, it seemed like it was headed where it was coming down to this closer rail towards us.
That's true. He could have gone short side on it.
Yeah.
But now he's got to do some work to get back up there. All right. Well, maybe it does go. Huh? Maybe it does. He hit that pretty good.
Boy, Now, if he hits, he's got to hit this with speed, which if he's only got half a pocket, it's probably not going to turn out real well for him.
If he's
got to go with a lot of draw to try to knock your 6 out of the way. Yeah, I don't know. I might just lay this ball into the pocket, leave it there.
Oh, I like that. That's a good idea. Just claim the pocket. Yeah. I think he was trying to do what you said, Devin. I think he was trying to draw off the 12 to play in for the breakout. But you're asking a lot of the cue ball at that point.
Absolutely.
And it was already super tight. It must have been super tight if it went at all. We're just going to nudge in behind the 5 here. Don't get kicked out. Oh, okay. I just wanted to bury him between the 5 and the 2 because I needed ball in hand to clear up my 6. I rushed that one a little bit. I took that for granted for sure. A little bit more time on that one and I would have been able to get him.
It's so easy to do that.
Yeah.
So easy to do that sometimes. All I got to do is just nudge it.
Yeah, my process went out the window. I mean, I didn't take the normal amount of time to fully commit.
It's little mental breakdowns like that just.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing about it is those small little details matter, and why even on the easiest of shots, our pre-shot routines are so important.
Right. Well, he played a really good shot on the 12, ran it along the rail. He's got to look at the 8. He's going to have to bank it.
Yeah, he's going to have to do the old one pocket.
Yep.
This is one playable. Pocket shot. Yeah.
It's playable from here. He's just got to hit it really full.
Yeah, little bottom right spin.
Yeah, he might have to spin it to tighten it up. And he's got enough room to avoid the 8-ball kissing back into the cue ball. He's still got to hit it pretty good, though.
Yeah, I know. That's one of those things where, if you ask me, he should not have made his ball.
Right.
Should not have made
that
straight.
Yeah, he went after the 12. He might have even been able to come off the 12 and put me behind the 8.
Well, it's just, I mean, I guess best way of describing it is playing for hope, and it looks like he just made that, huh?
He did make it.
Great.
Yeah.
But the percentages were against him there for sure.
Definitely. All right. So he's got a solid down. Opening shot on the 4-ball looks fine. The 7-3 is a little dicey. The 2 is not in a great spot. I'd be surprised if he tried to run these out here. It's another one of those racks where just the layout feels like it really favors the solids. I wonder if he could have played for the 3 from up here and get a bit of a breakout shot off the 3. It might be too full from up there. Camera angle tricks me on these sometimes.
Right. Well, the stripes really don't look that bad either. I mean, you've got a lot of clustered balls up there at the upper right, but
Yeah,
if you can see one of them, you can break out the rest.
try to
Oh,
get a little too much out of that 5 ball.
yeah, he was more worried about that breakout, I think.
Yeah, he came into the 2 pretty well. So we've got options. I might be able to just make the 11 now. We've got the 15. I think what I'm looking at is whether I roll through this 15 high right, or if I try to pinch off it, come backwards, maybe with a touch of left to hold it for the 9. Rolling through it's probably more natural here. Oh, I guess maybe I was trying to nudge the 8 out. Might not have gone past the 1. I don't think it goes now either.
Well, it's one of those pool gods things.
Right. It just they didn't
It's
want me
a
to
great shot. It just didn't come.
make it
I
up
mean,
there.
you still got a 9-ball shot to work with there if you
Yeah.
wanted to
And I think that's
open
what
it up a little more.
I come to look at that right away is getting good on the 9. How's it going to get me on the 8?
Well, here's a do you ever play 14-1?
I have, yeah. Not recently, but we used to be one of my favorite games.
So that's like right here is a perfect 14-1 type of shot where you could have gone for the 9-ball right here in the lower corner and just used it to break that situation out a little bit better.
That's true, right? From there, yeah, playing the 9 ball. I'm not sure I would have looked at that, but playing the 9 ball and then the cue ball comes out and around into the 1-8.
Right.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, I think we have to look at the 9 now. We got unlucky to not get shape on the 12 or the 11 over here. Is there a good safe? I think I'm looking at making the 9 and then getting shape on the 12. This guy. Got right in there.
Wow.
Now what? Thin
I don't know if
back.
that was just fortunate or good skill, but that was you definitely have a lot of safety options now.
Yeah, it's true. I could definitely get safe from here. Back cut on the 11 and then back around for the 12. I think the 13, 14 is tough because they want to go over here.
Yeah.
We're going to be running into the 2.
I don't know. If you could find a way to get back up on that, I don't know if is that your 12 or your 10.
That's 12
makeable
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I might just be attacking this still. I might be trying to get around for the 12. Oh, it's going too far. Maybe not. I tapped the table, so that makes it slow down, right?
It's a good thing about those 7-foots. It looks like an incredibly long shot there, but when it's a 7-foot,
they're never.
It's not really that bad.
They're never that long on these. I think we're in the window. I think we got onto this 12, but I have to roll through, so I'm on the. Oh, where are we going?
Ooh,
I
got
think
a little overexcited there.
Yeah, I was just that got away from me. I think that was weird. I think I was trying to force follow high left and end up in here, but it's never going to stay down there at that speed.
Right. I kind of wonder if you might have been trying to break him up.
Maybe I was trying to play into the 13.
Yeah.
Now I have to look at the 14 off the 13. I'm doing weird stuff.
Yeah. You really didn't take a whole lot of time on that shot for sure.
Well, it cooperated.
Yeah.
But pool gods, they don't want me to have the 13 now. Options are dwindling. And if we turn over the table, he could definitely put me safe somewhere.
Yeah, because even if you make this ball,
Not getting shape. Yeah, I'm not getting shape. I might just be trying to send it in front of his 2-ball. Put it back down here. Oh, I tried to make it. Did I scratch? Ouch.
You may have.
Yeah, I think I did. Ouch. All right.
So, pause for a second. Let's think about this.
Yeah.
You were just left yourself really bad. You had your opportunities to run out here a little bit, but your 8-ball was never in a good spot.
Yeah. Didn't have good key ball for it.
You had this cluster that you had to deal with down there on the bottom, which you did 2 or 3 mistakes in the middle of that cluster that made it even harder for you. But you did a wonderful job. And probably because you didn't really think you were going to get that far, but you did.
Right.
And then you ended up having that bad shot where you had to bank that ball. And you're like, okay, here's my opportunity. I can bank it in the corner pocket. And then hopefully bank out on the 8 and get out of this rack that I thought I had absolutely no chance of getting out on in the first place.
Right.
And that's what you tried to do. But in the middle of doing that, you probably didn't think very hard on where your cue ball was going to end up, other than it just being in this bottom corner quadrant of the table where you can give yourself a shot on the 8-ball.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly right. I knew it was tracking up there. I don't think at my level I could have accounted for the fact that it would go off the 5. It's pretty unfortunate to have rolled into that. But in my mind, looking back on the attempt on the 13, sure, the pattern might have gotten sloppier, like a little jazzy there, kind of making stuff up to get through the cluster. But the way that I hit the 13 felt good to me, and it looked good on here. At least I put it close to where I wanted it to be, if not making it. And the cue ball was tracking to the right quadrant. Yeah.
So if you ask me where you went wrong on that rack was, when you hit that ball into the corner pocket right before you left yourself your carom shot on those other 2.
Right.
That's where you went wrong.
Yeah.
You got down and shot really, really fast on
Rushed that one again.
And then you ended up putting your key ball somewhere where you absolutely did not want to do it. And that was your key shot.
Right.
It was that shot right there in terms of how well you could have got out. So that one just deserved a little bit more of your time.
Definitely. Yeah, I would agree. And I think it's bitten me twice in this match, where once it was a safety over here with the 2 and the 5. And then the other time it was this shot where I had to go with high inside, but at the proper speed to get shape in this area for those 2 balls over here. But even then, getting shape on the 8, I would have probably ended up having to push the 8 into the pocket to claim it and block it for him, or bank the 8 somewhere. I think the 8 was always going to be really challenging in this rack for me.
You're pretty fortunate here in terms of his layout, though. Like, if I were a betting man, I'd bet $1 he didn't get out here.
Yeah, with my 13 ball hanging, if I get a look at it, there's a good chance that I can put myself somewhere on the 8. For him, maybe he just goes with the 7 in the side, 3 in the corner, and then out for the 5-1.
Right. Which, if you ask me, he needs to go for the 4 in the side and then the 5 in the corner to give himself a little bit.
Free up the 1 ball as early as possible.
Right. Yeah.
A little snatchy on the backstroke there, and maybe wasn't thinking about the 5, just wanted to land on the 3, but he's kind of flat on the 3.
Right, and then I mean, he in the places where he's got to be on the 5, where he can get on the 1,
Yeah.
is tricky because the 8 ball is right there.
Yeah.
So unless he can, let's see how he does though.
I think he'll want to come towards the head spot.
But that's a pretty good shot.
Yeah. Good control,
If he
good
uses,
speed.
let's see what he tries to do. If he uses bottom, he's doing it wrong. If he just uses side spin,
I wouldn't mind just rolling into the 8 here.
yeah, that's what he should be trying to do. Yeah, he's going
He's
bottom.
queuing high. Oh, you think is?
Oh, is he going high, or maybe let's see. I don't know.
Oh no,
No,
oh
he did it right.
I see. I don't know, Devin. I
He's
think
not.
maybe he like didn't commit to the plan again. He might have
Yeah,
changed.
yeah, he certainly didn't get the speed correct, but that's an easy save.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
that's the right way to play it. Gets himself out of trouble. I can't jump it. It's too close to the 8. So I've got to make a kick on the 13. The 13 is very makeable though if you make a good hit on this.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a great kick shot. And with the cue ball being that close to the rail, I don't know if you like to use the mirror system, but you can use the mirror system, the backwards mirror system. Use it on the cue ball to find the spot on the rail you need to hit.
Yeah. So I'll show you the system that I use. I do a straight line from the object to the rail, and then I pivot to
the halfway point.
The halfway point between the cue ball and the object, and then I parallel shift from there. This has been very, very reliable for me.
No, that's a great system.
Ugh.
It is a great system. Now,
Yeah.
here's one thing I'll tell you about it though.
Yeah.
You should utilize both systems, because the mirror system, in that case, because your cue ball was so close to that rail, would have been a much more accurate system than finding the midway point and parallel shifting all the way across the table back
Right.
over your cue
It
ball.
was a little
Yeah.
awkward. Just for the viewers, if you could describe the mirror system, you're talking about a mirror table, like imagining the exact layout of the table, but flipped on the other side.
Like, can you pause for a second?
Yes.
So if you look at where the cue ball is against the rail right now, except for, let's use the 8 ball since it was over there, and just pretend like the cue ball, or the 8 ball is a cue ball, and then you can draw a cue ball behind there. But what you just do here is you take a straight line from your cue ball directly to the side rail, and then from that point you double it and go back that much further. So however much that distance is from the side rail to the middle of your cue ball, and then you double it further out, and then you look at that line straight to your object ball, and that point on the rail is what you need to aim for in order to have that kick shot. And it's in this instance, the lines aren't going to be perfect. It probably would have been a lot closer to that second diamond right there or whatever. But when it's that close to the rail, that system is very accurate.
Nice.
But it's the same. You can do the same thing with the object ball, and that's the way most people use it, is by doing it off the object ball. But you can do it the same thing when you're kicking with the cue ball, if it's the closer ball to the rail, and it works great. And it's a great little tool.
That does sound great. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll have to keep an eye out for that. Practice that a little bit. But chime in the comments, guys, if you have a preference for kicking systems, or if you've heard of the mirror system.
I also use that system you were just referring to in terms of
Yeah.
especially balls out in the middle of the table.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful system.
That one was a game changer for me. It actually came from a viewer. Somebody suggested that and sent me over to some resources, and so I started studying up on it and using it in my matches. And we're lucky to get back to the table here, guys. I mean, James played a good safe. I made a good kick, but I wasn't able to put the ball down. And I think even with these, I'm not getting too hung up on, hey, I need perfect shape on the 8. I'm going to be able to make this from pretty much anywhere. Just pay attention to making the 13 and come nice and smooth through that. So that could have been 3-2 coming out of the 8-ball set. Very easily could have been a 3-2 split, but we're up 4-1. Coming into 9-ball, let's see what we end up with. Okay. I do believe we have a look at the 1, which means we'll have to, if we're going aggressive, we're going to play a combo. But this is that awkward queuing we talked about.
Mm-hmm. Well, it looked like it was a bit of a jump.
It did have to hop a little bit. I think just striking down on it like that. I also put pace on it because I knew I wanted the 1 ball to roll through a bit more. I think here we just shape the 3 in the side. A little awkward around the point. Okay, we ended up rolling into it. I don't think that was the intention. And cue ball wants to roll into the long rail, so we'll probably have to just punch back out. I think at this point, I'm regaining the confidence. I was able to get out of the 8-ball set 4-1, and this is starting to look like a break and run in the opening of the 9-ball set, so I think we're feeling pretty settled here. And I noticed something else. I don't know if you'll ever see this, Devon, but the length of my bridge will change just unconsciously depending on how comfortable I am, which can bite me sometimes. But in this case, yeah. I've got a very comfortable long bridge, and I'm just stroking them in.
Yeah, that's a long bridge.
You don't like it?
It leaves the pivot point for the tip of your cue.
Yeah.
It leaves a lot more room for error.
Mm-hmm.
Your tip can go side to side or top to bottom a lot more.
Right.
So your stroke has to be very true in order for long bridges to work out real well for you. It doesn't mean that they're always bad. Like if you ask me if you have like an extreme cut angle, a long bridge works better. Has nothing to do with the length of your bridge, so to speak, but it has more to do with the distance that your eyes are away from both of your cue ball and the object ball. It's easier to line up those shots. But yeah, if you ask me, proper bridge length is somewhere between 9 and 13 inches, I guess.
Right.
9 and 11. But yeah, that's a good thing about pool is it's not always the same for everybody. It does depend on your stroking ability in terms of what's right for people sometimes. But
yeah, I try not to do too much conscious control of bridge length unless something's breaking down. And in some cases, I'll shorten up the form if I need to get comfortable, need to feel a little more accurate, and get kind of more consistent results. But then, yeah, I do notice like slippage, I guess, maybe feels a little bit too sloppy of a term, but that my bridge length will change as I settle.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're in the middle of a match, you shouldn't be thinking about all that stuff at all.
Yeah, right.
It's in your training. You should be thinking about all of that.
Yeah. So we come off of the first game in 9-ball. We're up 5-1, and unfortunately did not make a ball in the break, although I had been breaking well. I think we're just kicking into the...
I was hoping you had a corner that one ball for the carom
No,
1-9 shot, but no, I guess not.
oh, it didn't drop. It
Oh,
didn't drop.
the titty.
Yikes.
Uh, uh, yeah, I bet that made him
Yeah, I think
a little upset.
after all this, he deserved a roll. He is using the same
Yeah.
2-rail kicking system that I use, by the way,
Yep.
which I like that one a lot. It's hard to tell, just the rail blends in with the table, how much of the point is blocking him from that natural 2-rail kick spot, but I think he's got it. He's not going to be able to get much out of this. You just have to make a good hit.
Oh, so yeah, he's using draw.
Maybe he feels like he has to spin into it. Yeah, he overspun it. I don't think he had to. All right, can we?
Yeah, that's one of those things, though. I mean,
Yeah.
like, again, like I was just telling you earlier in this deal,
Mm-hmm.
the top and bottom doesn't matter off the rail that much. I mean, it does for certain things, but 2-rail kick is not really one of them.
Yeah.
Because it matters a lot more what happens after you come off the second rail than it does the first rail. And in which case your top and bottom isn't going to mean much. Maybe with the kind of speed he was in that could have affected a little bit, but I don't know. I think he just didn't know how to hit that ball.
Maybe, yeah. So we're staying in line here. I think kind of the 5 to the 6 is key, but as long as we get on the proper side of the 5, sort of up here, you can naturally play the 5 in the side and then come back down for the 6. So I don't know if I spin back off this. I'm going to roll through, let it open up. Oh, that's a weird choice. I'm not sure why I didn't go after the 5 in the side.
Your angle was a little bit tricky to get that exactly correct, but
Yeah.
see.
Well, a little bit of a fortunate bump to clog up the 6 ball. He's got a long, tough cut on the 5. Getting safe would be tricky from here, right? I mean, I would love to have ball in hand if I were him. So trying to get me safe. But put the cue ball on
Like
the 7.
if he just worries on a natural 5-ball shot in there, and then just roll back down to this bottom quadrant of the table, he could play safe off the 6.
Right.
But
yeah, he tried to get down. Oh. Well, here's a good chance.
Thank you, James.
Right. We're thin on the 5, but there is a big window for the 6, so anywhere down here is going to be fine.
Yep. And your cue ball's naturally going there.
It is a really natural roll. It's really just speed control at this point. Scratch is only on if you overcut this. Or if I put some spin on it, which I don't need to spin it. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I think your brain remembered that shot.
Yeah, yeah. That one might have come up in my dreams at some point.
Yeah. Wow.
Tough outcome.
It is, but this isn't exactly I mean, there's nothing natural about the leave on this shot.
No, he's doing
it wrong.
He's got to come around 3 rails.
Yeah, he should have put that cue ball on the other rail.
That's what I was thinking. The top long rail?
Yep.
Oh, he went rail first.
Wow.
Worked out great.
A great shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, James. That could get a little dicey if you overroll that. I see a lot of players will try to shape the 7 in the side. Because you got,
That's where I would have gone.
right? Because you got all this area. And if you roll out a little bit too far on the 7 ball, then suddenly the side pocket comes into play. I mean, it worked out for him, but still kind of maybe lower percentage than playing shape in the side. He's in line here though.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny how there's so many different things you can do with every shot. There's hundreds of thousands of different ways that you can take a shot, and that just depends on the way that where you developed your skill on how to do it. So
Right.
it's hard to say if something is right or wrong, because
Yeah.
it's really about what your skill set tells you is right and what your brain says is right. So I tend to not tell people in terms of their angles and their patterns if they're right or wrong.
Yeah.
But I just tend to, if they did something wrong, I tend to point out what they did wrong. But you know, patterns are pretty subjective in terms of what is right and what's wrong.
I think at that point it's more about
Yeah.
percentages, right, than it is right and wrong.
Right.
Can feel
Right.
more like a judgment. People can take that personally, but just hey, if you had considered doing it this way, your chances of success are much higher.
Yeah. It's just spend 10 hours watching Efren Reyes matches and tell me you to play the match the patterns the same way.
Exactly. Yeah, it works
Yeah.
for him. Yeah.
Right.
So let's see. James was able to snag that one. We are in an interesting spot. I think I'm probably just looking at banking the one to where he can't play it. I don't want to try to attack the 1 ball because the side pocket's in play. And there's no future on the shape for the 2. Oh, I was trying to bank it back down table. I think I just misjudged that, but I was trying to do one of these and get it down in here somewhere.
There was a good plan. That's
Yeah, the idea was good.
yeah.
But didn't hit it well. James has got another chance here. He's pretty easily rolled down from the 1, natural shape on the 2 and the side. Nice. Yeah, he stayed level there. Kept his body pretty still. I guess that's something I'm not seeing with his game is a lot of body movement as he's executing. In the prep, a lot of the micro adjustments that we talked about before, which they probably bite him.
He doesn't really get down on his shots either.
I noticed
He's
that.
kind of
Yeah.
I don't. How tall is he?
He's taller than me. I'd say he's 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, a lot of taller players do that.
Yeah.
Probably because they're used to seeing things from above.
Right. Awkward queuing
Way to
over
go.
the 8. To try
Yeah,
to,
big time.
you can't really queue down on this. I think you just accept the cut. You're going to roll into the 9. Oh, he does want to strike down on it. Yeah, you can see a little adjustment in the hand there. Trying to bank that, I guess.
I'm not sure if he was trying to bank that or if he just completely missed it. I was telling you, for every angle you jack a cue up, the more difficult it is to make a shot.
Definitely.
So what may have happened there is he jacked up, but by the time he stroked through that ball, he was on the side of the ball more than in the middle,
Right.
which shot it in the wrong direction.
Right.
So, because I doubt very seriously he was trying to bank that ball. There was no reason to bank that ball.
Yeah. Yeah, especially not jacked up over the 8.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just looking at sort of natural lines, or if I have to manipulate either by cutting the three ball differently, cheat the pocket, or with spin, how I get between the 6 and the 8 and then get back above the 4. So some windows in here. I think I'm just going to draw away from the 6 and the 8 and avoid it completely. Don't love that in retrospect. I mean, I still get a look at the 4, but I do think that I think we probably could have played clean between the 6 and the 8 and stayed down table.
I like your choice,
Hmm.
actually, but I think you should have hit that harder and come around 2 more
To
rails.
come back out. Yeah, I think, yeah, I like
Yeah.
that too. If you're going to do it, commit to it. Oh, that 9 ball.
Well, that just made your window a whole lot smaller.
Yeah, this 5 to the 6 is way tougher. You consider a safe here,
Absolutely.
right? You just come off the 5 and put them under the 6.
Yeah, yeah. There's no reason to try to give yourself a 2-inch window.
It's so tough to get on that 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to get on the 6. Wait, no, hold on. Maybe I am playing safe. Yeah, I did the right thing. Oh, look at this. The 5 ball's going to roll into the 2-inch window.
Oh.
Come on. What a game.
Well, he's even if he makes that 5 ball, he's still got to get in that same 2-inch window for your 6.
Right. So. That's true.
Yeah. Although it is kind of lined up for it, if he can see the 5 ball. I'm not even sure he can still see.
I think he can. I think he's straight on.
Man, he can.
I think he's got that little bit of an angle, like you said, just kind of pinch out, and it naturally wants to go into the window anyway. What are the odds? All right, James, you got to hit this one good. Oh, too worried about the 6.
Stroke number 20.
Too worried about the 6.
Yeah, like, man, if you're people out there, if you're taking more than 3 practice strokes, you weren't ready to take the shot. You need to stand up and walk the table.
Stand up and reset. Yeah. Well, I think I get another chance to play safe here. I shook my head, so I must not have the right angle to make the 5. But let's actually lock him up again this time. Get in there.
Okay.
That'll do.
Yeah.
He can jump this, though. I think James can jump. I probably should have just... Oh, yeah, go ahead, Devon.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, it sounds like I'm being kind of rough on James here. He's got a couple of flaws in his game that if he fixed, he'd be a really good player.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it sound like James is an easy opponent here.
Oh, not at all.
He's not. He's got a lot of stuff going really well for him. In terms of his abilities, he's just got a couple of areas he needs to polish is all.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. I like James's game. I think he plays really well. He's got really good instincts, but it is, just a couple little things that'll get him from time to time.
I guess he didn't hit the. I guess he
hit the 9 on the way up.
You hit the 9 on the way up. Yeah.
And as a result,
you still got this. You still got this problem, though.
So that's the thing. Because he hit the 9, the window's even smaller now.
Yeah.
I think at this point, like, you maybe make the 5, and if you can get shape, just prepare yourself to play a safe off the 6. I think that's got to be overall higher percentage than trying to do what I know I do here. Spoiler alert. I'm going to try to get into that window to be able to play the 6. Yeah, I'm going to play for it. Another thing that I've learned, the closer you get to this opening, the smaller it is basically, but the smaller the window is, by the way, what I mean, the window is bigger from back here.
Oh, absolutely.
right? So instead of stunning out to here, you could also consider coming up this way, but I think I'm just stunning out.
Yeah. I'm still playing it safe here, but
Right. Off the 5 or trying to get to the 6. Oh no, I did use the rail. Hey, I did the thing that
I'd probably, yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to play a safe off the 5. I'd probably try to travel back up
get
table and
down.
play something off the 6.
Yeah,
Because, I mean, playing the safe on the 5 leaves you the same problem
the
shot
6 is
after
still
shot
going to
after
be
shot.
there.
So,
Oh,
oh, look. Oh,
I got
you
there.
have,
I got into the window and then just the speed was off. I jabbed at it. Diamond
what,
tables
what
don't
was what was your excitement level about hitting that
so
window
high.
though? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, right,
I was so
right,
proud
right.
of myself for getting into that window, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna knock this in." But it's yeah, it was the same kind of like precipitating stroke issue.
So, so did you do anything about that excitement level right before you got down to that shot, or did you just get down and shoot?
In this case, I don't think I did anything with it. I think I just
Right.
gave myself the mental pat on the back of like, "Cool, we got the result we were looking for,"
Yep.
instead
All
of
right. So
taking a breath to settle.
right, and that's when you're talking about mental management techniques.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example of when it is time to take a step back
Yep.
and use some mindfulness techniques, especially particularly breathing, that helps you to calm back down and take this shot like you would any other shot. You just had a shot that worked out. And the 5 ball shot wasn't a hard shot at all.
Right.
The hard part about it was hitting that little tiny window to have yourself that 6 ball, but you did it. You did it perfectly, and you're like, wow,
Right.
awesome.
Right.
All right. So now it's time to calm back down and get yourself back in that frame of mind where you're following your routines and taking a couple of deep breaths, letting that tension come out of your shoulders and your neck and your back as you exhale. Take a couple of those deep breaths to get yourself back planted on the ground and relaxed again. Becomes so important in this game because it's so easy. Just like, wow, I did wonderful in that shot, and you're excited about what you just did, and you don't take the time to get yourself that prepared for the next shot, and it makes a huge difference in making or missing. So
Absolutely. Yeah, great
yeah.
perspective. I like to call it the victory lap. You know, after
Hmm.
something cool happens, take a literal lap around the table.
Yep.
Breathe in a little bit, get a look at, like, kind of zoom back out, right? Because we tend to get that hyper focus, which can be useful, but you also want to take stock and, celebrate, congratulate yourself a little bit, but then settle and get back to work, but not before you're ready. And I definitely rushed my 6 ball. Giving James another chance here.
And that is a really good shot.
Very good shot. Friendly bump on the 7 to put him in line to get on the 8 and the 9. Yeah, it's something else. I mean, there were a couple situations in this match where the pressure was really on, but I'm seeing James bear down and perform when the pressure's on. Whereas in some cases, I mean, a lot of cases, you'll see just the mental breakdowns, like you call it, Devon.
Yeah. Well, I was just looking at his elbow on that. Can you rewind?
Yeah, I
Get it
can.
up.
Yeah,
Let's take a look at that real quick.
yeah.
All right, guys. Look at this elbow movement during this shot. What's this mean? This means he uses his shoulder a lot in his shots.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know why you don't do that? Okay, so anatomy lesson. I'm giving away a lot of our PBIA instructional stuff here.
Hey, put it
So
out there. We love it.
this rotator cuff shoulder does all these wonderful movements until you get older and that stops doing it so much. Ow. All right. So elbow is just a hinge joint. It's got one motion, forward, back, forward, back. So if you're using your shoulder for your stroking where your elbow goes up in the air, you're leaving yourself open for a lot of errors that could happen. Whereas if you're relaxed and all you're using is a pendulum from your elbow down, you have one motion, unless you're doing something weird with your other rotator, which is in your wrist, which if your wrist should be relaxed. And if you're completely relaxed, you have a cradle on your cue stick, not a grip, and all you're using is that bicep to control your elbow movement only, you're going to have a lot better outcome of your shots. Well, let's say more consistent outcome of your shots. You can get good at playing pool incorrectly. There's plenty of even pros that drop their elbow on their shots and they got really good at it. Not saying that you can take every shot in pool going behind your back if you want, and get good at it, but it's not the most consistent way of doing things. And that's what you're really looking for in terms of your mechanics, right? You want the most efficient and consistent way of doing all of your motions to get the best outcomes. So that's why it becomes important to have proper fundamentals.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, the mechanics are huge. Thanks for that. And yeah, it's just about minimizing the variables, right? There are fewer things that can go wrong if you're not trusting the shoulder or the wrist, 360 degrees up here in the wrist, 360 in the shoulder, or you just have that straight kind of line, like you were saying, through the elbow. And yeah, the players like Shane who put wrist into it, I mean, it can work out for you, right? We can learn to play really well with those other degrees of motion. But we're talking about people with, lifetime of experience, and they spend, 10, 12 hours a day playing the game at the amateur level. We really just want to maximize our chances. And yeah, taking away things that can go wrong is going to help your game jump up dramatically. All right, this is a good out. He made a really, really clutch shot on that 4 ball to get back down. Okay.
He's creeping back up on you, Anthony. What are you going to do here?
I know he is. I know. It's getting away from us a little bit. Makes a pretty good break shot. He's losing his cue ball a bit on the break here in 9 ball. And I don't think he's got a line on the 2.
So, on your personal game,
yeah,
I think you were ahead at one point 4-1.
Yes.
And now you're 5-3s, 2 away from you. What's that do to your anxiety or pressure levels?
Yeah, great question.
Personally, what's that do for you?
Definitely. Historically, that would bother me because I would tend to fixate or even perseverate on missed opportunities. I should have had this game. I should have done this right. Or, maybe feeling kind of indignant about like, it didn't go my way, or complaining about rolls. I've done a lot of work on letting those things go that, hey, there's so much you can't control about these outcomes. What I can control is having a good process, focusing on making sure that I'm in my feel-good stroke. I'm using a speed that's controllable for me. I'm making good decisions and committing to them. Just very simple, keeping things very simple. Celebrate the good results when I get them. And so because I've been focusing so much on that mental work recently, it's helped me feel healthier at the table. I'm not coming home after a match, losing sleep over some 5 ball that I missed, right? Or some, window that I overran position. It's helped me see that in competition, it's really just about letting go and trusting your game. And then in practice or in training, that's when you need to focus on the mistakes and use them as information and use them as for things that improve your game. So I've made a lot of progress, but it was not always that way, for sure.
How about the losses, the nights when you lose? What's that like for you?
Yeah, same deal. It used to be a lot worse for me. In this case, I had a Masters match just recently that wasn't really going my way. And I try to just pay attention to what was working, what my opponent was doing that I might learn from, and just, come back to the drawing board and train up and come back better the next time. It's not stinging as much as it used to. And like I said, it just feels much healthier.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why I decided to get into the mental management portion of the game was because that is one area where it had a lot of issues accepting losses where I thought I should have won,
Mm,
or so yeah, and it's certainly to this day, even after all these years worth of studying this and trying to make it a part of my game, is still an area where I will, for a very small amount of time, allow it to bother me. Um, and I think I mean, you can see that with a lot of people that got into the mental side of the game a lot. Niels is another one. Boy, you for someone that knows as much about the mental side of the game as he does, you can just tell how much when he has issues with his game, it bothers him, and how much pressure bothers him. Boy, you see him at the end of a match, he's just drenching
oh yeah,
in sweat.
yep,
Um, you know, and it's it's one of those types of things where if you can do this, and this is what I have been really focusing on, which is I go through my training sessions. I find where I need to make my improvements, and I try to make my improvements in my training sessions. And then after I get to the table in a match, what I use them for now, and what I try to focus on is I don't try to focus on the win or the loss at all anymore.
hmm
I what I try to focus on is, when I came to the table today, did everything I train on show any improvement?
nice. I like that.
And that has a way of a not making the losses sting so much if they do occur, but b, have a mindset of a more of a focus on playing well,
Right,
playing, say, okay, did I improve or did I not?
right,
Let's showcase those new skills. Was I able to? and and that tends to make me not just have a better mindset in terms of not being a jackass to myself if I lose, but also just playing better in the match.
right.
So that for those of you that have that issue, this is a competition. Don't get me wrong, but it really is a competition with yourself.
Yeah, big time.
and and so that's one thing that I would suggest that you do in order to avoid those pitfalls of, man, I just missed this shot. We all miss. I can't tell you how many straight in shots I've missed that were sitting in the pocket
Yeah,
and over the years. It's something that happens. You're going to miss. If this game were easy, we would not play it. So you know, instead of uh, basing your performance off of your failures,
yeah,
base your performance on how many successes you've had, which
right.
is a very hard thing to do. We've been trained our entire lives to worry about our failures.
Focus on failure, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I love that perspective. I think the other thing that I really like about it is that it gives you a metric, right? It's, hey, I've been training on this. I want to see what it looks like in competition now. And it's less subjective, right? It's like, did my jump shots improve? James is jumping at this two ball right now, right? If I've been practicing that, have I been working on jump shots with, trying to stop the cue ball? Have I been working on a certain kind of cut shot or a certain kind of safe? If it comes up, did it go better than it's gone for me in the past? It's very simple questions, simplifying things just like we do with fundamentals and mechanics. But yeah, I love that. I think it keeps it healthier and with the respect for the game that it deserves, right? You were saying about like this is just a really hard game. And everybody is going to miss balls from time to time, right? There's no limit to the compilations of pros missing easy shots online, right? You can look that up to make yourself feel better if you want. But it's not about that, right? It's how do you come away from it? How do we pick ourselves up, and where do we go from there?
yeah, one of my favorite sayings I always tell people is, as far as that's concerned, is I don't care if it is that you just get up out of your chair to take a shot,
Yeah.
and you end up tripping on a shoelace and knock yourself out on the pool table and get carted away in an ambulance to the hospital. Instead of thinking about that horrible failure, tell yourself, man, I got out of that chair like a boss. You
Yeah.
know, think about what you did right, not about
Celebrate
what you
those
did
things.
wrong.
Right.
You
Right.
know, you can think about fixing your problems and your issues during training, during your match. You don't have time to do that. So think about what you did right,
Yeah.
not what you did wrong.
So much
So
healthier. You have to take
yeah,
time to celebrate that. Otherwise, it's just this endless string of stinging matches. Even the wins. That was something that I was finding with my game. I would come away from wins still fixated on the things that weren't working out. It's
mhm.
so unhealthy, right? You're so fixated on what needs to be better. How am I not good enough? I mean, psychologically speaking, that's downright damaging. So
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with working on problems in your game,
yeah,
but problems in your game are opportunities. They're not failures.
right,
They're opportunities to make your game better. And when you see them and you recognize them, that's something you should be excited about, not
absolutely,
not not upset about, because that's something you get to work on to make yourself a better player.
right. Meanwhile, James and I are trading jump shots, and I catch a very fortunate roll here after making a good hit on the two. I was attempting to make the two ball, didn't miss it by too much, but little dart stroke over the six to hit the two. It rolls back down, and now it's hidden in this cluster. This is a hittable ball. He might even have an edge on it, honestly. I think he does between the six and the eight. Oh, he hit the eight first.
And that, I think, was probably a consequence of how high he leaves his head during his
The
shots.
head was up there,
I
and then you can also see a lot of lift in the cue,
mhm,
right? The cue's
yeah.
really not staying on a kind of a level plane.
Well, he's got his bridging arm kind of this way instead of out in
Yeah,
front of him, and you can't see that line as well.
right,
So even
right.
when you're tall, there's times when getting down where your eyes are really looking down your cue
Yeah,
helps you, and that's one of them.
right. Yeah, and you'll see players use extensions, on the handle end of the cue or in between the shaft and the butt of the cue. They've got extensions for that as well. So there are definitely ways for taller players to get down on the ball.
You have to be really tall for a regular size cue to be too
To
short.
not right, to not fit well.
So
I think it is
I mean,
also a preference thing, or we talked about the length of the bridge. For some players, they want the joint to be closer to their chin when they're making contact. Or I've heard a lot of weird stuff over the years, but
yeah. Well, what really matters, as far as I'm concerned, is 90-degree angle to the ground when you're striking your cue ball is what's important.
right,
Being right in the middle of that pendulum, uh, because that's when you have control over where that tip is going to hit your cue or where it's going to hit your cue ball. Uh, Very nice. I would have missed that. I'm horrible at combinations.
those are tricky. I mean, that first object ball can really get away from you. Um, and I think it's so easy to maybe focus on that first object ball and worry, if I miss this, where am I going to leave it? And then you stop thinking about making the ball.
Yeah.
So that, with that combination, I've got ball in hand, luckily, so I can really make whatever micro adjustments I need to. But once you line up perfectly on that first object ball, it's just about trusting the make. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, right? But I was able to come back and hit that good and snag that game off of a fortunate roll, it has to be said, right? He could have hit that two ball, I believe, but I think we're just getting safe here. Put him behind the eight. This works. Still jumpable. Pretty sure he can jump over the eight and get past the three. Then the side pocket comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, again, pressure's on. I mean, I've kept the pressure on James the whole match, really. So it's got to be exhausting. Um, but he's got to make something happen here.
It's funny how you put that,
Hmm.
which is another mental management technique I think we might want to talk about as well before this is over.
Yeah. Do you want to? Yeah. Let's get into it.
So, yeah, I mean, you've got twice as many wins in this match as he does at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And he's gotten a couple of times where he's shown where it's like, okay, I'm making progress. I'm only 2 games down,
Right.
and then you turn around and make a 2-9 combination to squash those dreams, so to speak.
Yeah.
So how do you handle that in a match?
Right. Right.
Um, so, and the key thing is to remember is it doesn't matter.
Mm.
It really doesn't matter in terms of where you are in a match. Okay, so your opponent got to being as that far ahead in their in the match early in the match. You can think of that as, oh man, this is tough to overcome, and
Right.
every time I get close, I'm getting squashed. Or you can think of it in terms of, okay, well, have they peaked early, and now it's my turn.
Yeah. Good reframe.
So it's one of those things where it's like it doesn't matter when their wins come and your wins come. What matters is you keep putting your best foot forward. How do you put your best foot forward? You put your best foot forward by not worrying about that score. It's not about that score. It's about you playing the game you know how to play
Right.
and continuously doing that. And if you're spending a lot of your brain energy worrying about the score or worrying about how far down in the match you are, you're thinking about the wrong things,
Mm-hmm.
and you're getting mentally fatigued over something you really don't have a whole lot of control over anymore because it's in the past.
Right. Wasting in the energy. Yeah.
So the only thing you can think about is what's going to happen right now. Um, in fact, you don't even want to think about the future. So right now, he's got to think about what he's going to do with this shot. There's only one thing he can do with this shot, which is hope he hits the one ball and hope he hits it in such a way where he's not going to scratch in the side pocket. And that's all that matters right now. And that's it.
I love that reframe and not wasting the energy worrying about what could have been, taking the opportunities when you can. And I think that's best case scenario for a loss, right? If you have a loss but you did absolutely everything you could to win that match, there's a lot less to be upset about. So it makes a good hit, but again, yeah, that side pocket was big here. And this is dangerous for James. He's given up ball in hand. There's not a ton of problems here. Yeah, I mean, really getting from the 1 to the 2 is probably the trickiest thing. The 3 naturally leads to the 5. Maybe coming across table for from the 5 to the 6 could get dicey, but so we're on the wrong side of
Not a whole
the
lot of
2. Yeah,
not a lot of problems here.
not a lot to do. I think just
All you
I
gotta
would
do
have
is go
wanted to be here on the
behind that
3.
8.
Yeah. I think now what we have to take is to come out and around,
Yeah.
but still very playable. Maybe I don't want to roll through the 8. I'm going to come around it. Yeah, that's fine. Shooting off the rail again.
Yeah. And on the wrong side of the 3.
On the wrong side of it. So if I'm feeling spicy, I might try for side spin. I think I have enough room to put spin on this, but usually you don't want to risk it. Yeah, I'm going to try to tighten this up a little bit. Not that much. But yeah, so we're flat on the 5. We really did want to be over here to come into the 5 so that you can come back out for the 6.
Are you having to jack up over the 8 here, or do you have
I'm
enough
not
on the
sure. Not sure if I have to queue over the 8 or not. That would definitely complicate things too.
side?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
There's a lot that can go wrong on this shot. Yeah, all right. Hit that pretty bad.
I'm not sure about hitting it bad. That's not an easy shot.
Right.
It's certainly not an easy shot on a diamond table.
That's true. Yeah.
You pretty much have to hit the center pocket on these balls
Mm-hmm.
on a diamond certainly more than you need to on a valley.
Right.
The valleys pretty much accept almost anything.
Yeah.
Whereas diamonds are very tough.
A little pickier, yeah. It looks like the 5 will go, but it must just be very thin past the 7. The cue ball naturally wants to come back down towards the 6, so really at that point, just focus on making the 5 and don't overstroke this. But if James is able to get up to 6-4 here, that's going to help him feel pretty good, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of lift on the cue. Chin's really far away. Too thin on the 5. Look at this, Devon.
Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? Hooray for 9 ball.
9 ball. Well, it punishes me for the 5 ball. Yeah, it happens. What are you going to do?
Yeah. But did that help him?
Right.
Like, I mean, he's closer. It probably helped him a little bit, but not as much it would have helped him if he'd have ran out.
Probably, yeah. So we have to see if I want to attack this. We've got a good line on the 1. I think the 2 naturally wants to go on the side. Am I able to get past the 4? I think that's what I'm looking at. I think even if we run into the 4, we should still be able to glide back down table.
A little stroke check here. Let's see how we do.
Came on the inside of the 4.
Mm-hmm. It's a good speed.
Yeah, hit it good. So I think we'll just get straight on the 3 and draw back up for the 4. I don't mind these at all, especially on a clean diamond table. I'm just going to come full into this. Oh, too full. I had such a big window. We ended up short side on the 4, but obviously I was trying to get into here.
Well, if you back that up and look at your head during that shot,
Oh, good call. Let's see it.
you'll notice some movement there, which
Yeah.
probably affected your stroke.
Let's take a look.
So there was definitely some tension here when you were like, okay, I really got to put some screw on this.
Right. Yeah, normally I'll stay pretty well aligned. Chin kind of centered over the cue. Eye checks. Definitely lifted off it. Good call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so threw my line off just enough to put me short side on the 4.
Yeah. And that's you know how I was saying before we started this, which is tension is the biggest killer in this sport.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to your fundamentals, relaxation and I mean like barely have enough tension to hold your body up.
Right.
Type of relaxation is what you want to do in this sport. And I don't care how fast you need to hit a ball. It's not about strength. If I was going to say, think of boxing, just a point jab where you know, instead of trying to really knock someone out, all you're trying to do is just get a point, just a quick point. That reflex muscle is what you're using. You're not. It's nothing to do with. As a matter of fact, the more you tense up, the slower your stroke is going to be.
Right.
So it's actually killing your speed. It's not helping your speed,
Right.
and it's also completely throwing your alignment off.
Trying to muscle it, but yeah, the tension slowing down the stroke. I never really thought about it that way, but that's a great perspective.
Yeah.
So I just kind of took my medicine on that 4 ball, and we know that if we play this 5 smooth, oh, we're gonna miss that 5 ball. Naturally wanted to take us towards the 6, but I think we just took our eye off the 5. We're giving James another chance. Are we gonna see 6-5 in this match?
What you got, James? Let's see it.
Yeah, he's got to do it. I mean, the 7 to the 8, unless he wants to play the cue ball off the 8 into the 9, that's probably the most complicated part. But from here, it's nothing too crazy. Yeah, he's got a lot of table for the 6 ball, so.
Yeah, and he probably wanted to be right in the middle of the table so that he could have.
Right.
Had his angle on the 6, could have gone with a little bit of right spin and knocked that 8 away from that 9.
Oh, sure. Yeah, he could certainly play to open those up, and then you're still going to get shape.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, zip draw.
Oh
wow. Boy. Look at this roll, though. Come on.
Oh.
Nobody plays it like that. Big draw. Gets the 7 in the side. And yeah, he wants to just play the cue ball off the 8 into the 9. You don't want to take those for granted, though. Didn't need to do anything with the cue ball there, really. Probably, don't want to be on the rail, but reasonably thin off the 8, kind of a quarter ball. It takes you full into the 9.
Yeah, these are the shots I'm pretty exceptional at.
Yeah.
I don't know how I got good at these, but I got really good at these. But yeah, let's see here. Yeah, he was not confident about that stroke at all. He let up on that stroke.
Yeah, he kind of snatched at it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he kind of led his whole body into it. He tried to do like a finesse type of thing,
right?
When he should have just stroked through that ball.
And this is a bear down moment on the 8 ball. Not a gimme by any means, but it's a smooth stroke. Again, you cannot hammer these in. They'll bobble right out.
Yeah.
So stay low, stay still. Nice and full into the 8. No trouble there. That's game.
That was a good match. Yeah. So this has been fun. It's interesting to see the two styles of playing. Okay, you're definitely have a lot more going for your fundamentals than James does there. James has some work to do. So do you. I mean, there's certainly, so do I. So does everybody.
Yeah.
There's certainly things about our fundamentals we can always improve upon. But one thing about James, and you said he was a 520, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's something to be said about that in terms of just having enough games in to understand how important these things are, and to not allow things like, oh, man, my opponent just ran the table, really get in the way of how you play.
Right.
Like, it was very obvious in those first 3 games that he played where he was not settled down, and he allowed what was happening in that match affect the way that he was showing up to the table,
Right.
which means his mind was more concerned about what had just happened more than what was in the present.
Right.
And being in the present means everything in this game. You can't be upset about what happened in the past. You can't be overly excited about what happened in the past. You have to be just completely forget about the past. You have to completely forget about what's going to happen in the future. Like you can't be thinking about, wow, I'm about to win. Yeehaw.
Right.
You can't be, what matters is what's happening right there on that shot, and having the perfect imagery to make the shot and trusting your body to do it. And that's a neat little dynamic there. Your conscious side says, well, this is what needs to happen. And this is where I need to make sure my cue ball goes or doesn't go.
Right.
And then after you create that imagery, it's that video that you create of making that shot in your head that is taking care of everything. You trust your body and let it happen. And that was something James was not really good at in those first 3 games until he started to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, he
And
settled.
after that, it just became a point of his fundamental issues, which gave you more opportunities than it provided him.
Right.
So if he fixed those, and that's one area where I say, we spend thousands of dollars on this game, right? Thousands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm crazy about it in terms of, I've got probably 15 different cues I've got, that I've had over the years, and I don't ever sell them. I just collect them. And my cue case is worth over $700.
Yeah. Hey, it's
You know,
it's a wonderful hobby. It's easy to spend money on it.
yeah, and it's like so spending $500 on getting an instruction from a certified instructor is nothing compared to what most people spend on this sport.
That's true.
And it is a fast track to getting away from the bad habits that we develop over the years. I'm an instructor. I've been doing this for years. And that does not stop me from going and getting instruction or getting help from an instructor to say, hey,
Right.
what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong?
Absolutely.
What do I need to work on? I just took a course with Demetrius Gelatis right after the Texas Open, which I took his 3-day boot camp, which was a fantastic course. Highly suggested for you advanced players out there. It's one of those things that's instruction helps us all. It's having a coach, having that person that you can trust to be able to help you gain perspectives that maybe you're not able to gain yourself about your game becomes very important. And that money that you spend on proper instruction is worth way more to your game than any of that money you spent on your cue stick, your cue case, the gloves, all of it.
Absolutely.
And it becomes one of those things where I highly suggest that you find somebody that you trust to do that with. I'm not saying come see me. You can come see me, but there's plenty of good instructors pretty much all over the country. Find somebody that you trust. And I will tell you right now, the mental part of the game is huge. That's why I specialize in it. And it's one thing to understand the fundamentals. It's another thing to have the mindset to be able to keep your fundamentals intact throughout your entire match.
Right.
And that's where the mental management portion of this sport becomes absolutely important. So that's all I got.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, thanks for that, Devin. Yeah, I think it's a really wonderful breakdown today. I had a lot of fun doing this with you, so thank you for being on with us here today. Just briefly, I guess, before we let you go, we heard about James's game and some of the mechanics, maybe some of the fundamentals, things that were coming up for him. Do you have any feedback for me? Anything specifically that, any like glaring things that you noticed today, or anything that you would recommend that I focus on? I don't want to trouble you for a lesson here today necessarily, but just, quick tips or quick thoughts top of mind before we close out.
You get you kind of, when you get into a situation where you have a hard shot, you tend to speed up rather than slow down.
Right.
So so you get amped up and you don't unamp yourself. So that is the main thing I saw. That, and I'm not real happy with your bridge lengths.
Yeah.
But those are things easily resolved.
Right.
But taking 3 seconds just to stand up and look at your shots before you get down and just think about what's needed will help you to slow down enough to think about the things like calming yourself down right before you take a shot. That doesn't mean overanalyze a shot or anything like that.
Sure.
It just means calm my nerves.
Settle. Yeah.
Right. Overthinking shots is not good.
Right.
Because when you really start analyzing a shot, then all of a sudden your fundamentals go out the window, because that's what you're concentrating on and that's when you start doing 20 practice strokes like James just did on some of those shots and everything else. Right. It's not about sitting there and analyzing the shot, every possibility or anything like that. It's why you're taking that break. It's to calm yourself down to where you can actually go through your routine.
Right. Absolutely.
And that absolutely makes a huge difference in the consistency factor when it comes to those more critical shots.
Right.
So
right.
that was the main thing I saw. Your fundamentals for the most part is very good. Your approach to the game is pretty methodical. I can tell that, but just by the way you talk about it. So those are some really good strong points about your game. Is your methodical approach, the fact that you're not doing anything really crazy wonky with your mechanics. You try to keep it as simple as possible. Which I'm not saying that's the goal. Simplicity really isn't the goal. The goal is to know all the tools and use them when they come up. But your approach is good in terms of don't overuse your tools. And then that's kind of where we always want to be is just use what's necessary, and you're good at that. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that, Devon.
Right.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thanks again. And yeah, for everybody, if you're here, thank you for sticking around until the end. I'm going to link the Facebook page, a little bit of information about Devon, a little bit of information about PBIA, how you can find instructors. I'll put all those resources down there in the comments. And then, yeah, do all the YouTube stuff. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you are not subscribed. And thanks again to Devon for joining us today. Really was a pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great. And everybody, see you soon on the page.
See you in the next one. Bye.